Alright, welcome everybody. Today I've got a video on my Colt 1903 Pocket Hammerless. This particular example I picked up at a gun show probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It's not a perfect example, but it does have some pitting on it and stuff, but it's still got a lot of the original factory bluing on it, and shows the craftsmanship of the Colt, what they were capable of in the early 20th century. It's a beautiful finished pistol. It's all original. Has the original Colt rubber grips on it. This gun is unloaded. Show you. It's got the original two-tone magazine with the proper markings on the bottom. See if I can get that in there. It is chambered in 32 ACP. There were many of these made from 1903 up until World War II, and I believe there were some even assembled after World War II from leftover parts. This one here is in the 350,000 serial range, which puts it being manufactured around 1920, 1921. Which just goes to show you from 1903 to 1921, they made 350,000 of these. I don't know what the final production number was, but I believe it was in the 400,000 somewhere. As they got later in production, less were sold, obviously. Lost popularity, but in the heyday of these, from 1903 up through the 30s, they were extremely popular. Back when I just started collecting guns and was visiting a lot of gun shops back in the late 80s and 90s, these things were found everywhere, used at the gun shops for very low prices. I remember seeing them sometimes in the sub $200 range in decent shape. Most of them you find these days are in pretty rough shape. I mean, people carried these. A lot of sweat and stuff got on them, and they rusted and they lost their finish. And the finer ones with good bluing bring pretty premium prices. It's not uncommon to find these in excellent condition for well over $1,000 now. But you can still find decent examples for decent prices. This one here, like I said, it has almost all of its original bluing. It's not a little bit of thinning in the bottom of the grip safety. But if it wasn't for the pitting right here and back on the slide serrations on this side and some spotting up on the front of the slide here, I mean, this gun is in very nice condition. Like I said, it's got the original grips on it, the original magazine with it. There was a later model that came out in 1908 and it's been called the 1908, which is probably not correct. It's been called the Model M, but it's basically just a model 1903 chambered in 380 also. So these were chambered in two different calibers. The 380s are a lot less common and bring significantly more money in equal condition. So if you find one of these, like I don't remember what I paid for this. I want to say it was in between $500 and $600. I might have overpaid for it a little bit, but judging from what I've seen these going for online, I didn't get hurt. But seeing what these went for just a few years back, it's hard to part with that kind of money for one of these. But this one here I thought was a very nice example and within my budget because of the condition, and I wouldn't mind taking it out and shooting it every once in a while because of that condition. I thought it was a good pickup on my part, so I'm glad to have it. It is it's a single action pistol. It's called a hammerless, but it actually does have a hammer concealed in the frame. Has a safety. We'll go over the breakdown procedure, and I'll show you the hammer on the inside. These things they're nice and slim. I can see why they were very good sellers, and people that use these for protection. I can see why they were so popular. I'd say they're still viable today as a carry gun, although I will say that these original guns of this vintage probably are not safe to carry with one in the chamber, would be my opinion. They're not drop safe. There are accidents have known to have happened where these guns were dropped and they went off and people got injured or worse. So if you have one of these and you're carrying it, just keep that in mind that the general consensus is they're not drop safe, and probably not the best to be carrying with one in the chamber, which kind of defeats the purpose of carrying in the first place. It's a shame, and I've been researching to see if some of the later parts, if you install later parts in these earlier guns, if they're drop safe. I'm still researching that. I know they added an extra, I guess you want to call a sear step in the hammer that I believe was supposed to be, stop the hammer in case it dropped. Whether that would render it safe for carry, I don't know. There's a newer company making these under the Colt name that supposedly they've been tested. I don't know if the parts that they make in those are interchangeable into the older guns, and you could make one of these suitable for carry, but it warrants a lot of investigating before you make that kind of decision to carry a gun like this. As capable as they are, by today's standards, they're probably just not considered as safe. So back in the day, people didn't think twice about guns being drop safe. You just didn't drop a gun, and things were different back then. This particular example I've never fired. I've had it 3 or 4 years, and I just haven't gotten a chance to get it to the range. I don't have a lot of ammo sitting around for this. I think I got maybe 2 boxes, and one of them is a vintage box from the 50s that I don't want to use. I will try to get it to the range and shoot it eventually. It's on my to-do list, but not a priority right now. Anyway, the breakdown on these are very similar to the 1908 25 ACP vest pocket that I had in an earlier video. You'll notice on the front of the slide there is an arrow, and first of all, like I said, you make sure the gun is unloaded, magazine's out of the gun, and it's going to be kind of hard to do here on camera, but you pull this back to where the mark almost is about even with the frame. See if I can catch that. And then the barrel is going to catch it right in the right spot here. The barrel, you're going to turn it, if you're behind the gun, it's going to be clockwise until it stops. Notice I turn that, and then the top end will just come right off the gun. And you got to watch the spring in the bottom as you're kind of pulling it out. Keep your hand underneath it, and you can pull the frame and the slide apart, and then you have the spring and guide rod, recoil spring and guide rod that sits in the frame. I'll show that there. Goes in a little hole right there, sits in there. These are the lugs for the barrel that you turn. When you turn the barrel, it locks into there. And this is the hammer right here. So it's not really a hammerless, it's just a exposed. It doesn't have an exposed hammer. So, and then as far as the slide, you're just going to turn the barrel back again, and it's going to slide out the front where it can be cleaned if need to be. That's a good look at the bottom of the slide there. Anyway, for putting it back together, and I would never take one of these apart further than what I've just taken apart unless you really know what you're doing. Anyway, with the lugs to the bottom, you're going to slide the barrel back in, and then the spring is going to slide in to the slide. Make sure you're hitting the rails on there. Line up the spring with the goes in the slot in the slide. See if I can get this right the first time. So the barrel is going to be pulled out. I got it all bound up there. Give me a second. There you go. So the lugs, right as the barrel matches, it goes in front of the chamber or the ejection port, maybe about 1/8 of an inch further up. You can turn the barrel clockwise like so, which is what position you want it in when you're putting it back together. You slide this back to where the arrow is where it needs to be, and you turn the barrel back to that position, and the gun is back together. You know, by today's standards of modern guns, yes, it's a little bit on the complicated side, but once you get the hang of it, which I haven't taken one of these apart in quite a while, although the similarity to the 25 auto hammerless is it's identical, but it takes a little bit getting used to, but it's not bad. The sights on these are pretty rudimentary. Has just a fixed rear sight with a tiny notch and a little blade on the front. These obviously were meant for close up. The 32 ACP, 32 caliber, usually about a 71 grain bullet. I believe traveling in the neighborhood of 900 to 1,000 feet per second. Although there is hollow points and stuff made for 32 ACP, and I haven't kept up with the more modern offerings that might be better. If you were to have to rely on one of these for defense, I think the full metal jacket would probably be the best option. That way you can maximize the penetration of the 32 ACP. But there may be some hollow point offerings out there that are worthy of mention that I'm not aware of. Obviously these guns were designed to shoot the full metal jacket, so that's what's going to work best with them. Hopefully soon I'll get a chance to get this to the range. Hope you enjoyed the video. Here's a quick look of it one more time. I showed you the 1903 Colt Hammerless. Really beautiful gun and beautifully made by Colt. Hope you enjoyed the video.